In previous lecture, we talked about what is authentication provider and how it is going to benefit for us while we are trying to integrate or trying to perform various tasks. In this lecture, we are actually going to implement where we are going to use Google email as authentication provider, and after implementing that, we are going to log in into our Salesforce environment with that Google email, with that authentication provider. So let's quickly start with creating an authentication provider, and then we'll talk about how we can log in and what user it is going to create over there. So first thing what you need to do is from the setup quick search, just quickly type auth.provider, and you will see under security control you got this authentication provider. Click on that, and once you click over here, it is going to open the same window as I am currently in. Now you can see over here I have one for Facebook. Just click on new, and here we need to select Google. You can see that we have got this Google, we have got various Salesforce, Amazon, Apple, Generain. So all those we can select, but we are going to select Google for now, and we will select Google as a name. Okay, URL suffix is going to be populated like Google over here. So now you can see all rest of all the information is optional. You want it to give, you can. If you don't want it to, you cannot, right? So if you wanted to give consumer key, consumer secret, you can do that, but it's always recommended to leave those as a blank, because Salesforce is going to take care behind the scene for all of these. For it is going to put this URL for user info, consumer key, consumer secret, and all. You no need to provide any of these information. But as we are going to use this authentication provider login into the Salesforce, what we need to do is, you can see registration handler. So either you can select a registration handler, or you can just say automatically create a registration handler. It is going to create a template for you. So just click on that and it is going to create a template. Okay. Now if you wanted to see that template, just what you can do is you can just type res, not like that. Okay. We will just, after saving that, we will get the class over here. And now it is saying execute registration as. So I'm going to select a user with Salesforce admin, so that we can execute, and that user has ability to create the user inside Salesforce. Now I just selected this, right? I can just click on this icon URL, the image of a Google over here. So I'm just going to select, let me quickly select any of these. So just selected this and paste it over here. Now go ahead and save this. So once you will save it, you can see here auto created registration handler. This is the name of our class that Salesforce does created for us. If you go over here, you can see, let me edit it for you. You can see it is giving us some sort of template for us, where it is automatically implementing an interface which is auth registration handler. And this method, this interface has two methods. One is create user and one is update user. Okay, so these are the methods that we must need to implement, and these methods contains user ID, portal ID, user data, the complete user data. Now let me talk about the first thing, which is create user. Whenever the user tries to log in into the system for the first time with their external service provider, external identity provider, where we have Google email, this method gets executed, create user, where it gives you two parameters, portal ID and auth user data. This portal ID is used if you are trying to log in inside a Salesforce community. You will get this portal ID. If you are logging into system, this portal ID is going to be blank. And this OAuth.user data, again, this is a class inside Salesforce, which is there inside auth namespace. Auth namespace. This data gives you the complete information about the user who is trying to log in over here. Now you can see here they have prepared some sort of user with the help of some standard user. And what they did is they basically tried to implement it for internal Salesforce user, not for the community. That they haven't implemented that. And once user is registered and they try to again log in, this method gets called update user, and it doesn't return anything. But if you see over here, it does return a user record for the first. But for the simplicity, I already had this class where I named this as social registration handler. This can be used for any social like LinkedIn, Google, Amazon, Facebook. You can use it for anything. Okay, what I'm going to do is just edit this auth provider. I will use my own class, and I will tell you what changes I have made over there to make it work for both Salesforce community and internal user as well. So let's first select our class, Google Registration Handler. Now let's quickly review our class over here. So you can see again I did nothing. Let me quickly increase the font size. So you can see I did nothing, right? I have few variables on the top. I said these are the static final variables. This is social account. This is for community. We're not going to use it over here. Community profile, I said that customer community user, and standard profile, which is chatter free user. Why I'm using chatter free user? Let me tell you the reason for that. If I go to setup and from there I go to company information, I don't see any Salesforce licenses available to me. But if I click on go to list 22, I can see that there are four column chatter free user. Okay, here you can see chatter free users. There are 50,000 chatter free users. There are only 3 users which are using this license. So I can use this license. I can create, sorry, not 50,000, up to 5,000 users I can create with this. That's why I just use this chatter free user as a profile for the internal user. And then what we did is, this is another method that I created, which is accepting 2 parameters. One is saying the data that we are getting from our external service provider, and then an object of a user. Okay, here I have created few variables of string type, which basically these are nothing. These are the parameters, or I can say these are the properties of a user record, and try to put a debug over here. This is nothing, it is just trying to put the debug. And initially I say that first name will be changed, last name will be changed, and email will also be changed. And then what I said over here, data.email, that means we have got the email from our identity provider. So I said put the email, and the similarly I did for first name and last name, and again I did similarly for the full name if I do have. So that's how I'm trying to. And then I said prepare the change the first name, change the last name, and here I'm trying to generate some random numbers so that I can create a random unique username for every user who is trying to log in inside Salesforce. And then as we know, alias cannot be greater than 8. That's why I'm trying to substring over here, and just preparing that user, that's it. And then here inside this create user method, what I said, I'm checking if my the data that I'm trying to log in and I'm getting is containing some kind of key like SFDC underscore network ID. That means we are trying to log in inside a Salesforce community. So we're not trying to log in, let it leave. Otherwise, what it is saying, get a profile, assign that profile to the user, and then return that user. So if you notice one thing right here, I'm not inserting that record, but even if you don't insert that record, that user will get created inside Salesforce environment. If you have seen over here, once we have created our authentication provider, you can see we got ample number of URL over here. It said that test only, single sign on, existing user, and then all these URL we are able to get, right? So we just going to copy this test only URL, open a new tab and paste it over here. So we can test either our setup is correct or not. So if you see over here, it is asking up some consent from me. So I'm going to select the same user we use for integrating Google Calendar. Now once I did, you can see I'm able to see like full name, provider, org ID, last name, ID, portal ID, local, portal ID is nothing, first name, email. So all this information I'm able to get. That means my authentication provider setup is correct because I'm able to do all these things in. Now what next we need to do is, first we will quickly try to turn the debug log on for the user we selected as a registration handler, sorry, as a registration as. So let's quickly go ahead and enable that. So it is already being traced, we no need to worry about that. Let's cancel it. Now next thing that we need to do is we need to use this Google to log in inside our Salesforce org. So how we can do that? For that, go to search for domain and go to my domain. If you have not enabled my domain, please go ahead and enable that my domain, because this auth provider will work for my domain only. This use case is only for my domain enabled org. Authentication configuration, click on edit over here, and once you click edit, you can see now you have got Facebook, you have got Google. I'm going to select Google over here and save it. So now you can see we have got two authentication service. Either I can use login form, I can use Google. Let's quickly try to log out from this. I will log in again back, but to show you the demo, I'm just going to open that URL into the new window. You can see I have got this Google, and I might see the different link for logging in, but yeah, you can see we have got the user interface, and then we have got this Google. So I'm just going to select Google over here, and it is redirecting for me to log in into the Google. I'm going to use this email, the same email that I'm using for all these demos. So let's log in here in this email, and we got some error, and here is something, a list has no rows for assignment to S object, something we got some error. So we can just go to debug log over here. So let's quickly see on the view, and we will say list has no. So we can just go to quickly scroll down to the bottom. You can see over here, right, we did some debug log, and we are able to see like first name Amit, last name Singh, and all these things we are able to see over here. So even we can see picture value and all, we are able to see everything over here. So if you scroll down, we just need to bother about this line number 98. That means there is some error in this code. So what is that? Okay, let's quickly refresh this because our session has been invalidated. So we got at 98, right? That means here we are getting some error over here. So it is saying that there is no profile which is having the chatter free, right? So let's quickly get back to developer console. So we can see where is that chatter free. This is the one, right? So we can say chatter free user. So we are going to use this profile. So before we go ahead and use that, let's quickly verify this. Yes, we have got one profile this time, and I'm going to make the change over here. You just need to replace this profile name, that's it. So now once we saved it, we are going to again use this, and we will just try to log out from this environment and then select Google over here. And this time again it will ask me to log in. I will select this. So now you can see right here I'm just getting logged in into my Salesforce org. You can see the URL of my org and everything. I can see start URL. So now I'm here. Although I'm getting insufficient privilege, but I'm able to log in inside my Salesforce org, and I should be able to see my settings, and I should be able to go to my profile. So that is how we can log in inside your Salesforce org with the help of a single sign-on, or we can say that with the help of our authentication provider. We can use, we can leverage social sign-on, and this is a very good use case for using our authentication provider. Now you can see I can just go to chatter, because this is the chatter free license. I can just put some over here. I can say hello there, anything I can put. I can say hello there, and then I can just share it. So yeah, this is it, how you can use authentication provider, and we will be using the same authentication provider for accessing the Google events and all. So this is it for the for this lecture. If you have anything, just feel free to put down into the Q&A section, and if you have an email ID, you might have seen it multiple times, just shoot down an email to me, and I'll definitely reach out to you. Thank you.